Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. It's been a while. How was your 2025? Mine was okay. Had some good times, had some bad times, saw some good movies, heard some good music, but most importantly, I played a lot of video games. And for video games, 2025 was a pretty good year. We got Nintendo Hire This Man versions of Oblivion and Metal Gear Solid 3, and we got another Mario Kart, except this time you can play as Stingbee. Remember Stingbee? Alright, hating aside, there were a lot of great games, so without further ado, I present to you the long-awaited TIMDIGGITY Awards Top 10 Games of 2025. One of my earliest gaming memories is playing the original Ridge Racer on PS1. And earlier this year, I started to crave that type of game again. You know, nothing fancy, just a straightforward arcade racing game. And that was when I heard about the 2025 revival of Tokyo Xtreme Racer. I'll be honest, I had never heard of Tokyo Xtreme Racer before, but this game was exactly what I was looking for. I had a ton of fun with this game, just designing custom cars, tuning them up with different configurations, and taking them to the streets to drag race NPCs with cool nicknames. I even had to start researching real-life car concepts like wheel alignment, camber, and limited slip differential to better understand how to make my cars perform exactly how I want them to. It's cool to see a racing game in 2025 that's built entirely around single player. No ranked leaderboards to climb against other players with optimized cars. Just good old-fashioned single-player arcade racing. So if throwing on some music or a YouTube video and drag racing on the Tokyo Expressway sounds like your thing, then definitely give it a try. In the game, I mean. Earlier this year, I tried the demo for Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, and it pretty much blew me away. I played through the demo like 10 more times waiting for the game to come out. And now that the full game is out, I think it's a pretty great game overall, despite some issues. Certain stages are kind of a slog compared to others, and when I played through it, you had to finish the game once on easy baby difficulty before you could unlock hard mode. And that's a shame, because now that I'm making my way through hard mode, it feels like this is how the game should have been in the first place, especially for a game in a series that's primarily famous for its difficulty. I heard they've since updated the game to make it so you can switch to hard mode right after the tutorial, but unfortunately I played it when it first came out, so that kind of soured my whole experience with it. I don't really understand why you'd make a new game in a famously difficult series, only to force things on the player that make it easier. That sentence could basically be my review of Ninja Gaiden 4 from this year as well. But that said, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a really sick game, despite only being a few hours long. The movement and the combat are really satisfying, and the pixel art is gorgeous, and most importantly, you can unlock alternate costumes for your little guy, which is the mark of a good game. So you should check it out, and probably just play it on hard mode. This year, everyone and their mother was raving about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So, as a big fan of the JRPGs which heavily inspired it, I gave it a shot. And I thought it was pretty good, especially for being a debut game from a relatively small team. So to them I say, bravo à toute l'équipe. That's a French sentence I just looked up on Google. But if there's anything I learned from this game, it's that I think what I like most about JRPGs is exactly what makes them so distinctly Japanese. A lot of the praise I saw for Clair Obscur seemed to come from people who either don't like JRPGs or had never played one, saying things like, finally, a turn-based RPG that's actually good, without all that anime bullshit. But me personally, I like anime bullshit, and I like turn-based RPGs. The turn-based combat in Clair Obscur feels almost inconsequential, since the parry mechanic basically trivializes the entire game and removes any need for strategy or resource management. This results in the game being balanced around the broken parry system, with many attacks feeling impossible to read or enemies just one-shotting you if you miss a parry. And that's fine if you want a parrying simulator, but as far as turn-based combat systems go, this was just not my tempo. But where Clair Obscur does shine for me is in its story. I'm a huge sucker for convoluted, Xenoblade-ass stories where it's hard to keep track of all the twists, moving parts, alter egos, etc. And without spoiling anything, the final choice between the two endings of this game was genuinely fantastic, and reminded me of the morally ambiguous endings of many other favorite games of mine. So while I could nitpick about my numerous issues with the game or go on and on about whether it's deserving of the hype, I'll just leave it at that. Plus, there are unlockable costumes, so it gets an A+ in my book. Hades 2, to me, is a rare example of a sequel that actually manages to have its own distinct identity. Compare it to Ghost of Yote, for example, which to me just felt like Ghost of Tsushima again, except that one was red and this one is yellow. Hades 2 manages to take the idea of the first game and add a bunch of stuff to it in a way that actually works. It feels significantly more complex than the first game without feeling overbearing or making my head hurt from keeping track of it all. And when I first walked into a certain boss arena and realized I was fighting against a rock band that's performing the boss theme, with the instruments each cutting out from the soundtrack as I defeated each band member, I knew I was gonna love this game. Basically what I'm trying to say is, you know how Hades 1 is red? Well, they made this one green, if you can believe such a thing. It doesn't replace the first game, and it doesn't try to. The combat is different, the tone is different, the vibe is different. It's not just Hades 2, it's Hades 2. And with so many sequels feeling like lazy cash grabs today, I think that's worth praising.
Go back to the old shit. This seems like a cash grab. Do the older stuff and not this kind of stuff.
I'm the type of person who plays games really slowly. I like taking my time, RP walking, taking screenshots, reading item descriptions, looking at scenery, staring at statues, and coming up with theories. And unfortunately, unlike the mainline Souls games, Night Rain doesn't really feel like a game made for people like me. In Night Rain, from the instant you start a match, you're sprinting like a madman, collecting stuff and fighting bosses as fast as possible for the next 40 minutes or so. There's no time to read, to look around, to stop and smell the roses. For some players, like speedrunners, I imagine this game is a godsend. A Souls game stripped down and distilled to its basic essence of running around and killing shit. But for me, with Souls games, that's generally not the main thing I'm here for. However, I do like doing challenge runs of these games from time to time, so Night Rain is still really fun when that particular mood hits. And like other From Software games, there are plenty of great boss fights to learn, fun builds to experiment with, and plenty of challenges to overcome. I love those moments where it seems like the run is totally over, but the team manages to clutch it out and make it to the end by the skin of their teeth. I also really like the Remembrance quest lines for the characters, which are basically optional. The Revenant's questline culminates in a scene that feels like something out of a different game entirely, and it was really sick. Night Rain is certainly no Elden Ring, and in many ways it feels more like a mod than a full game, like a testing ground for a bunch of random ideas they wanted to throw at the wall. And as such, they don't always stick. But when they do, Night Rain manages to capture some of that classic From Software magic, at least for a little while. Playing Death Stranding feels like you're watching Andrei Tarkovsky's 1979 film Stalker, Except every 20 minutes, someone changes the channel to Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch. And I mean that in the best way possible. That's the magic of Kojima games. You'll be watching the dumbest cutscene ever created, then you're listening to a heart-wrenching monologue about grief, and you're crying. Then it's like, oh no, the giant mech is fighting a monster made of goo. And someone looks into the camera and says, looks like it's time for a boss fight. It's ridiculous, and it's awesome. But honestly, my favorite parts of Death Stranding 2 aren't the over-the-top cutscenes, but rather the slow, meditative journeys in between. The moments where you reach the top of a hill and look out over the landscape and hear a song kick in as you make your way down the other side. I love how sometimes while you're walking, Sam will just say things to himself as if he's speaking to the player.
Come on, what you got? Let's do this. Just push on through. Don't let them down.
It's so simple, but that shit seriously makes me cry. These are the moments that define Death Stranding to me, that solidify it as a masterful example of gaming as an art installation, gaming as an intentional, meaningful experience. But these moments were already what defined Death Stranding 1. And for that reason, to me, Death Stranding 2 feels a bit too much like more of the same. Unlike Hades 2, or even the sequels Kojima himself has done in the past, Death Stranding 2 seems to lack its own identity. And I was hoping for something a bit more provocative and inspired, as the first game was upon release. You know, something people would hate, and then I'd get to say, oh, you just don't get it, because you're stupid. You're stupid. But that doesn't change the fact that, all things considered, Death Stranding 2 was a beautiful, weird, unique experience, and one of my favorite games I've played in recent memory.
Get it done. Right.
Blue Prince is a really strange game, and the more time that passes since I played it, the more I realize I've really never played anything quite like it. I mean, sure, it's kind of like a roguelike, it's kind of a walking simulator, it's kind of a puzzle game, but those are only its parts. And when all those parts are put together, it becomes something special. It's difficult to discuss this game without spoiling anything. But what I can say is that the story and mysteries of Blue Prince have, at least to me, some sort of magic to them. And maybe more than any mystery game I've played before, it genuinely makes me feel like I'm pulling back the curtain, seeing things I shouldn't see, learning forbidden lore, etc. I think the genius conceit of this game is that you don't have to explore any more than you want to. You can roll credits in a fairly short amount of time without understanding anything and finish your journey there. And if you do, you've still beaten the game in an objective sense. But when I reached the credits, I kept exploring. Not for some reward or trophy, but simply because I wanted to know more. I didn't finish exploring every nook and cranny of Blue Prince. I got what I needed from the game, and for now, I'm satisfied. But I still have questions. I still have that itch I can't scratch. And the longer I go without knowing the answers, the more I feel the pull to go back into that house and peel back some more of its layers. In last year's Top 10 Games video, I said that I wanted to see more big, dumb action games like Stellar Blade. And this year, I found out Ninja Gaiden is exactly what's been missing from my life. In Ninja Gaiden 2, you'll walk into a boss arena, the boss says some cartoonishly evil shit, and then the camera cuts to Ryu and he goes,
I don't care.
Now that's what I'm talking about. I love that. I'm kind of a newcomer to the series. I'd only ever played the 2004 Ninja Gaiden on original Xbox as a kid. But back then, I had no idea what I was doing and it was way too hard for me. But when Ninja Gaiden 2 Black came out this year, I saw some Souls challenge runners doing blind playthroughs on very hard difficulty, and I decided to try it myself. I knew it would be hard, but I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into. Very hard difficulty is so insane that I just fell in love with it for some reason. It's a level of difficulty that you rarely see anymore these days, and it's just so refreshing. You'll be fighting a boss that's already extremely hard on its own, but on very hard, there are also mobs of enemies just relentlessly ambushing you the whole fight. I had moments where I felt like it was truly impossible to win, and I almost considered turning down the difficulty at times, but with a little perseverance and the help of some YouTube tutorials on how the combat works, I slowly improved and ultimately managed to make it all the way to the end. And making it through a game that's so punishing, so shamelessly unfair in its difficulty is truly a magical experience. Like you've accomplished something superhuman. And after you beat it, you unlock another difficulty that's even harder. Now, I should point out that this is a remake of a game I never played. And I have since found out that my least favorite part of the game, the mandatory missions where you're forced to play as side characters with different movesets, weren't even in the original Ninja Gaiden 2. So now I want to go back and play the original because those sections really do feel tacked on and unnecessary in a game that's otherwise almost perfect. But other than that small complaint, if you're like me and want some loud, bloody, edgy 2000s action nonsense with a side of extreme difficulty, definitely check it out and definitely play it on very hard if you think you're up to the challenge, because they just don't make them quite like this anymore. Silent Hill F really surprised me this year. I don't know exactly what I expected, but I was totally captivated by the story, the themes, and the symbolism. It tackles some issues that I don't think I've ever seen explored in a game before, which I won't spoil. I've heard complaints that it's too heavy-handed, too on the nose, but for some reason I'm like immune to that. I'm not often bothered by art that's really exaggerated or overt in what it's trying to say. To me, not everything needs to be ambiguous or difficult to decipher. Sometimes you just want to say something, and you want to say it loud. And I think Silent Hill F is really creative in the way it says what it wants to say. Long story short, the story is somewhat vague at a first glance, but as you do subsequent playthroughs, certain things are made clear which change the context and make you see things in a different light. And for me, that experiment totally worked. Because of these specific revelations, my perspective on the same story was completely different across each playthrough. And I think that's a really interesting thing for a game to do. And even just in terms of the character design and art direction in the game, it was really like top tier to me. The combat does get kinda old, especially on repeat playthroughs, but I'll be honest, maybe it's a hot take, but I feel like combat is almost always the weakest part of survival horror games anyway, so I kind of expected that. I know some die-hard Silent Hill fans were disappointed by this one, but give it some time. I think this will be one of those games that flies under the radar at release, but after 10 years or so, is looked back on as a classic. Now I'll do a quick montage of a few more games that didn't quite make the top 10. Monster Hunter Wilds is a game with many flaws. It's way too easy, at least in the beginning. The story sucks. The performance is horrible. There aren't enough monsters. There's a bunch of stupid microtransactions. I could go on and on complaining about all the things that piss me off about the direction Capcom is going with Monster Hunter. But honestly, did any of those things stop me from loving Monster Hunter Wilds in the end? No. I've easily put more hours into Wilds than any other game this year, and that's not for no reason. It's just so fun. No matter how many times I fight the same monsters using the same weapons in the same locations, it just does not seem to get old to me. I love hunting these monsters, even just by myself, not grinding for anything in particular. But while hunting monsters alone is fun, I think the multiplayer is what really brings this game to another level for me. I spent hours and hours just hanging out in the Grand Hub with friends, spamming emotes, grouping up with random people, barrel bowling, talking politics, watching musical performances, making funny outfits, etc., etc. Then gathering up the squad and going back out there for another hunt. It's a shame there were so many issues with this game. A lot of people really seem to hate Wilds, and I can't even blame them. In the first 30 hours or so, I thought I hated it too. Struggling with performance issues, not being able to play with friends because I have to do a bunch of stupid, slow walking and talking quests. It was pretty horrible, and it's hard to recommend to anyone for that reason. But once I made it to the end game, and the game finally opened up and ramped up the difficulty, it finally clicked. I stopped comparing it to previous titles, measuring it against some ideal version of Monster Hunter, and I just played the game, and kept playing it with each new update all throughout the rest of the year. And I can't wait to see what gets added to the game with the inevitable DLC expansion. But until then, I'm having fun hopping on whenever there's an update to see what's new. And I'll also keep filling out Capcom's user surveys and telling them to fix their damn game, as you should too. But if you're a Monster Hunter veteran who was disappointed with Wilds and stopped playing it, allow me to suggest that you open it up one more time when no one's looking and give it another shot, because you might just fall in love with it like I did. So there you go, my top 10 games of the year. What was your game of the year? Did I slander it in my video? Is there a game I didn't mention that you think I'd like? Let me know in the comments because I'll probably play it. I'll do anything you tell me to. I don't give a fuck what it is. I don't know why I wrote that. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe if you want to hear my thoughts on whatever games I feel like talking about in the future. Peace.